After 35 years, a love story once thought to be over breathes again. The streets of Los Angeles look the same, but the people who once walked them have changed. She was the dreamer who dared to believe in magic. He was the man who never thought he needed it. Time pulled them apart. But time also has a way of circling back. Offering one last chance at something real, a black screen fades into the glow of a Los Angeles sunset. The city hums with life, cars passing, voices blending into the night air. Against the backdrop of neon lights, a familiar face emerges. Julia Roberts as Vivian Ward steps into frame, older now but with the same spark in her eyes. The camera lingers on her smile. It's softer. It's touched by years of wisdom and experience. Vivian walks down Rodeo Drive, her heels clicking against the pavement. She pauses outside a shop window, her reflection meeting her gaze. The display shows a mannequin in a sleek red dress, almost identical to the one that made her unforgettable decades ago. Her lips curl into a small smile, not of longing but of memory. This isn't about who she was. It's about who she has become. She turns away from the glass and continues down the street. In her stride there's confidence, in her eyes there's strength. Narration rises. Vivian Ward built a life on her own terms. She made mistakes. She learned. She grew. She no longer needed to be rescued. But deep down, she wondered if she ever stopped waiting. We cut to moments of her everyday life. Vivian teaching a small group of young women at a community center, showing them how to build independence, reminding them that they matter. We see her laughter, her kindness, the way she makes people feel seen. She has transformed her once chaotic past into something meaningful. But there are quiet moments too. Vivian returns home to a cozy apartment filled with books, art, and photographs. She sets down her keys and looks at a framed picture tucked on a shelf, her and Edward from years ago, smiling on a balcony. She brushes her hand across the frame, her eyes softening. No words are spoken, but the silence tells everything. The music swells as the scene transitions to her sitting by a window at night, sipping tea, gazing out at the city lights below. She whispers softly to herself, "I wonder if he ever thinks of me." The screen fades to black, and then the text appears, "Pretty woman to second chances." We hear the faint sound of Julia's laugh from the past, echoing into the present, reminding the audience of what once was and hinting at what might return. The screen opens with the low hum of city traffic. But this time, it isn't the busy sidewalks of Beverly Hills. It's the sharp, glassy skyline of New York City, cold and polished. A long shot of towering buildings reflects the early morning sun. Inside one of those skyscrapers sits Edward Lewis older, his silver hair cut sharp, his suit perfectly pressed. The world hasn't changed much for him on the outside. He still moves in boardrooms, surrounded by lawyers, CEOs, and endless stacks of contracts. But the camera lingers on his eyes, and it's clear. Success has grown heavier with time. Edward leans back in his chair after a long meeting. Silence filling the sleek office. He picks up a pen, clicks it once, and stares at the papers in front of him. The documents are worth millions, yet none of them matter to him. His hand drifts across the desk until it finds a small leather wallet. He opens it carefully. Inside, pressed between credit cards and receipts, lies a worn photograph. A younger Edward and Vivian stand together, smiling at something just out of frame. His lips tighten. For the first time in years, the man who once believed love was just another business deal looks uncertain. Cut to Edward at a family dinner. His daughter, grown now, talks about her new career, her husband, her children. Everyone laughs around the table, but Edward sits quietly. He raises a glass and smiles, but his eyes drift far away. The family is whole, yet something in him feels unfinished. He excuses himself early, stepping out onto a balcony, where the city lights burn below like 1,000 restless thoughts. His breath catches in the cool air. Alone, he whispers almost to himself, "I wonder if she's happy." The screen shifts. Edward stands in front of a mirror at home, loosening his tie, his reflection staring back. The man looking at him is still strong, still in control, but the lines on his face tell stories of battles won and sacrifices made. His house is vast, filled with art and silence. But when he walks through it, the emptiness echoes louder than footsteps. A scene cuts to Edward in a hospital room, sitting in a chair while a doctor speaks softly in the background. His expression doesn't break, but the weight in his eyes tells the audience more than any words could. Mortality has crept into his world. Suddenly, life is not about the deals or the empire, it's about what slipped through his hands. Music begins to swell, slow and aching. Edward steps into a limo, riding through the night streets, the neon glow of Los Angeles reflected in the window. For the first time in decades, he's back in the city where it all began. His hand rests against the glass, and as the car slows, he looks out. The lights of Rodeo Drive flash by. A small smile flickers at the corner of his mouth, part memory, part ache. The scene ends with Edward stepping onto the sidewalk, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement, just like hers did earlier. He pauses, glances around, and for a fleeting second, feels like the past has folded into the present. The camera lingers on him as the narration rises. Edward Lewis had everything, except the one thing he let go. The screen fades to black. A soft echo of footsteps carries over into silence. Asterisk. The screen opens with a quiet cafe tucked on the corner of a Los Angeles street. Morning light spills through wide windows, painting golden streaks across wooden tables. The hum of conversation and the hiss of an espresso machine fill the air. Vivian sits alone at a small table near the window, reading a book, a soft scarf draped around her shoulders. She looks peaceful, content in her solitude. The camera holds on her for a moment, letting the audience breathe with her. A bell chimes as the door swings open. Edward enters. Not with the commanding stride of a businessman, but with the careful steps of a man who has seen enough of life to be humbled by it. He doesn't notice her at first. He orders a coffee, his voice calm but tinged with the tired weight of years. The camera cuts to Vivian, her eyes lifting from her book. Drawn by a familiar sound she hasn't heard in decades, her gaze finds him. For a long moment, time seems to fold in on itself. The busy cafe fades into silence. He stands there, older, changed, but unmistakably Edward. Vivian's breath catches, and her fingers tighten on the book's edge. She hesitates, as though afraid that if she speaks, the vision will vanish. Edward turns coffee in hand, and their eyes lock. His face freezes. The world tilts. The man who once controlled entire empires is left powerless in a single instant. The two simply stare, not speaking, not moving. A history of laughter, heartbreak, and longing floods between them in a silence heavier than words. The spell breaks when Vivian lets out a small laugh, soft, almost nervous, the kind of laugh that says, "Of all the places, of all the moments, it had to be here." Edward sets down his cup, almost forgetting how to breathe. He whispers, barely audible, "Vivian." The scene shifts into slow montage cuts. Edward and Vivian sitting at the cafe table, their conversation halting, tentative, yet charged with unspoken emotion. Vivian's smile, warm but guarded, as she says, "You look different." But the eyes are the same. Edward responding, "I've thought about this moment more times than I can admit." A pause between them. Heavy with everything they don't say, the montage continues. They leave the cafe together. Walking down the street side by side, their steps are slow, cautious, yet magnetic. The camera captures their shadows, overlapping on the pavement, a symbolic echo of the past meeting the present as they walk. Edward glances at Vivian. His voice is low but steady. "I made mistakes. The biggest one was letting you go." Vivian stops, looking at him with both tenderness and sadness. She replies, "We were different people then. I had dreams. You had walls. Maybe it was never meant to last," but even as she says it, her expression betrays the truth. She still feels the pull. The ache of what once was. The music swells. A familiar but reimagined instrumental of Pretty Woman threaded with orchestral strings. The camera pans up, showing Edward and Vivian walking into the glow of the Los Angeles sunset. Text fades onto the screen to hearts. Once torn apart, collide again. The moment closes with a close-up of Vivian's hand brushing against Edward's as they walk. They don't hold hands yet, but the distance between them has shrunk. It is the beginning of something fragile, something daring, the spark of a second chance. The screen opens not with romance, but with silence, the heavy kind that sits between two people when words are not enough. Edward and Vivian stand on a balcony overlooking Los Angeles at night. The city glows beneath them, alive with color and energy. But their faces are etched with questions, doubts, and the sharp edge of fear. Vivian breaks the silence first. "We're not the same people we were," she says, her voice low but steady. "Back then, it was all magic and chance. Now it feels dangerous to believe in that again." Her words hang in the air, fragile and raw. Edward turns to her, his expression firm but vulnerable. "It's not danger, Vivian. It's the only thing that's real." The screen cuts to a rapid montage. Vivian at the community center.
Of her students.
Asking her if she'll leave Los Angeles again. She hesitates, unable to answer. Edward in a sterile doctor's office, listening as a physician explains his health concerns. His strong posture falters just for a moment, betraying the weight of his mortality. Vivian staring at the old photo once more, this time slipping it into a drawer as if to protect herself. Edward, standing in a boardroom, ignoring a deal on the table because his mind is someone else. The music shifts. Darker now, tension building beneath every beat. Vivian paces her apartment, whispering aloud, "I built this life on my own. I can't just lose myself again." She presses her hand against her heart, torn between the independence she fought for and the love she has never truly let go. The scene flashes to Edward sitting alone in a dimly lit hotel room. He pours himself a glass of whiskey, but before taking a sip, he sets it down, untouched. His reflection in the window is that of a man haunted, not by deals lost or fortunes gained, but by a woman he once promised to cherish and then let slip away. His voice trembles as he mutters, "Not again. I can't lose her again." The camera lingers on the two of them separately, each battling their fears. Vivian with her doubts about opening old wounds. Edward with the weight of time pressing down, knowing chances don't come often at his age. Their struggles run parallel, like two trains speeding toward an inevitable collision. Then comes a turning point. A stormy night, rain streaking across glass. Vivian stands by her door, her hand hovering over the knob. Edward stands outside, drenched but unwavering, his eyes searching for hers. Their silence is broken by thunder, but louder than the storm is Edward's voice. "I don't want perfection, Vivian. I don't want the past. I just want you here. Now, whatever time we have left." Vivian's tears mix with the rain. For a heartbeat, she doesn't move. Then she opens the door wider, the storm spilling in, the tension breaking. It's not yet a happy ending. Not yet. It's a choice. A fragile, trembling step toward a future neither of them expected to have. The screen fades to black, and words appear, but second chances come with harder choices. The music crescendos, leaving the audience hanging between hope and heartbreak, desperate to see whether love can endure the weight of time.